Welcome to SU News, the weekly news program brought to you by the Department of Communications, Journalism, and Media at Suffolk University. I'm Kayla Dalton.
And I'm Murat Metchin. A floor collapsed in a coal plant during a reconstruction project in South Boston on Wednesday, trapping one worker under the debris for several hours. SU News reporter Molly Ellis with the latest update.
We arrived on scene about 1:40. We got a call of a building collapse. We arrived. There were two people that were injured that were able to be removed immediately. We had a third victim that was trapped.
More than 100 firefighters, dozens of vehicles, and even a surgeon arrived on the scene. For more than 3 hours, they all fought for the life of the trapped worker. Wednesday afternoon, the individual was pinned under a collapsed wall with life-threatening injuries in a former power plant in South Boston. Fortunately, the person was rescued and transported to a local hospital. The investigation into the cause of the collapse is ongoing.
This is an active investigation. We're in the preliminary stages. Because of life-threatening injuries, the Boston Police Homicide Division will lead the investigation under the direction of the District Attorney's Office. Involved in this investigation will also be OSHA and ISD.
Built in the late 1800s, the building was undergoing reconstruction for a new project. The plan was to develop the territory of the old plant for apartments, offices, hotels, and public open space. The project was initiated in 2017 and finally gained approval in January of 2021, with Redgate Construction Company doing the renovation.
We've talked at other community meetings in more detail about the variety of open spaces that we are creating. We're proposing a children's playground. We want comfortable places where someone could come and have a cup of coffee or read a book.
The future of the project is now uncertain. This collapse is just weeks after another fatal one at the Government Center garage. This continues to raise even more questions about the workers' safety going forward.
As here as in other standard protocol, pausing the permits and making sure that there's a full investigation. OSHA has already been on scene. Most important is to protect the people of Boston. And so we need to make sure that that includes our workers across every part of our city as well.
Molly Ellis and Murat Metchin, SU News.
Reporter Nick Milano has this week's top stories.
It's playoff season here in Boston. After an impressive sweep in the first series versus the Brooklyn Nets, the Celtics now face off against the physical Milwaukee Bucks. After losing Game 1, the C's fired back to tie the series 1-1 and will now travel to Milwaukee for Games 3 and 4. The Bruins dropped their first playoff game against the Carolina Hurricanes, but are gearing up for a deep playoff run. In other news, a leaked Supreme Court ruling, which would overturn Roe v. Wade, has caused a countrywide uproar. The overturning would leave abortion rights up to the individual states. Protests continue to grow across the country. Comedian Dave Chappelle was attacked during a late-night performance Tuesday. The 23-year-old suspect was arrested and charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Luckily, Chappelle was unharmed. In local news, Boston's MBTA Blue Line repairs are on schedule, and the T should reopen on May 9th as expected. And that's it for this week's top stories.
The war in Ukraine has now been going on for over 2 months. Here's a look back on how Ukrainians in Boston worked to support their country from overseas.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
With candles in hands and a deep sorrow in hearts, Boston colleges have joined a nationwide vigil for Ukraine. Together with more than 20 universities around the country, Berklee College of Music and MIT students commemorate thousands of innocent lives taken during the war.
We are here to remember about people who died in Ukraine, who keep dying there, and all the horrors and war crimes that Russia commits there. To remind everyone that we cannot go silent and that we cannot forget about that and cannot get used to this.
Recently, the whole world was shocked to see images from the towns of Bucha, Irpin, and Mariupol, where Russian forces have been accused of several war crimes according to the Ukrainian government. It's estimated almost 2,000 civilians were killed, including more than 180 children. However, Ukrainian communities fear that public support has died down.
We had to give this information to American people because people here are starting to forget. And people here, when we saw that they were active first 2 weeks, now we don't see as much involvement and we are scared, and it makes us feel a little desperate.
To once again remind Bostonians of the high price Ukraine pays for its freedom, local artists came together with an installation and a performance called Stolen Lives. Activists placed a pair of shoes in the common for each child killed by Russian military, while other volunteers marched with baby dolls covered in red paint.
Sometimes you can still hear that let's negotiate with Putin, like Zelensky need to negotiate with him, but I don't think that American population, American people wanted to negotiate with terrorists after like 9/11 happened.
We feel the pain, we feel the anger because we can empathize, and we wanted to translate that to the public space and make everyone around us feel it with us.
Massachusetts has already become home for dozens of Ukrainian refugees. One of them is Irina Gospodarik, who fled Ukraine with her daughter when missiles started to hit their city in western Ukraine.
Ну, ти лягаєш спати, це там 12 ночі, діти. Якби не діти, можливо, це було б, звичайно, легше. А коли діти, їх приспати треба, заспокоїти. І тут сирена. І я збираю дітей, я їх вдіваю, вони не розуміють, вони капризують, тому що хочуть спати. І я беру речі необхідні, медикаменти. Це шок, це, звичайно, стрес, але ти розумієш, що все може статися і треба сховатися.
While Gospodarik's husband serves in the territorial defense back in Ukraine, Irina is joined by her childhood friend Natasha Sky in Newton, where she packs and sends a truckload of supplies to Ukraine weekly. On April 10th, Jewish and Ukrainian communities in Boston came together for a day of unity at Maycor Center. Bostonians could learn about cultures, buy traditional food, and donate for much-needed humanitarian and medical supplies.
Sunflower Feast is to provide medical supplies, and particularly this backpack is a medical backpack for paramedics on the fields, and they are having everything to save lives of the wounded soldier. Paramedics are actually begging for those things to have it on the fields.
Along with Ukrainian and Jewish performances, Polish and Lithuanian communities also shared their cultural heritage. The event ended with a rally during which cultural and political leaders, as well as members of communities, spoke out against the Russian aggression. While the battles in Ukraine continue, Ukrainians in Boston go on with their fight, raising awareness, funds, and keeping hope that peace is near.
We are convinced we will win this defensive war against Russia. And immediately after, we, with our friends, will start rebuilding my beautiful, peaceful country and taking back our compatriots' refugees.
Kayla Dalton and Mark Adelinsky for Suffolk News.
Purchasing land has been common practice for many academic institutions, including Harvard in the greater Boston area. One neighborhood group has had enough and want their voices heard. Our reporter Hunter Berube spoke with the residents. More details in this story.
There's kids disappearing from here and families.
Harvard University is the largest landowner of the Allston-Brighton area with 170 acres.
My kids have a college education, but they're not going to be able to stay in Allston and Brighton.
Rising costs in the area are pushing residents out.
Said they love it here and they would like to stay if they could buy, but there's no way. There's no possible way.
Locals fear that Harvard is acting out of self-interest.
Well, are they an education institution or are they a development corporation?
Harvard's expansion could cause substantial harm to the community.
You need to be responsible for the neighborhoods you're moving into, and you actually need to think about the neighborhood first.
The Coalition for a Just Allston-Brighton, known as CJAB, seeks to work with Mayor Wu in Harvard.
Our goal here is to get Harvard to come and talk to us. That's all we're asking for right now.
Hoping to find common ground.
Would there be a win-win for everybody involved?
We really need families to stay.
For SU News, Hunter Berube.
When we come back, as construction on the Blue Line continues, the MBTA is offering new temporary services.
Also ahead, Suffolk University's Club Sports Field Day. Reactions from the Celtics fans at TD Garden. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to SU News. The Blue Line has been on the shuttle service while it undergoes construction.
Reporter Hannah Mitchell asked residents what they think about the MBTA continuing the ferry service.
The MBTA has been quite chaotic recently. With the Blue Line shut down, the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority has provided two options between downtown and East Boston: shuttle buses or the ferry between Lewis Wharf and the Long Wharf. The MBTA is only planning to use these two options until May 8th, but with many other closures occurring this summer, residents are urging the city to keep the ferry running.
It's convenient. If it's cost effective to the T, then I would do it.
The ferry has been a great option, considering the buses have been causing tons of congestion on the roads. Residents have started petitions online and plan to have a formal one sent to the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. To sign the petition, visit www.change.org. For SU News, I'm Hannah Mitchell.
After a big game 2 win, the Celtics have a 1-1 series tie against the Milwaukee Bucks. Reporters J.D. Conti and Devon DiStefano have the latest from Causeway Street.
The Celtics handily defeated the Bucks on Tuesday night, tying the series at a game apiece. The Celtics won 109-86, thanks to offensive dominance led by Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown stepping up huge, especially the way that Tatum didn't start off very well early in the game, but obviously he stepped up huge in the second half. So you gotta love what you saw out of Jaylen Brown. Big time game 2 performance.
The Celtics also dominated on defense. They held Giannis to 40% from the field.
Gotta admit that a lot of it had to do with how they played on the defensive end. Going back to the first 3-on-4 position that Milwaukee had in this game, you could see immediately that the defensive intensity, especially guarding against Giannis, was quite noticeable, and it translated into the offensive game as well.
With Marcus Smart out, many of his teammates had to step their game up.
Grant Williams is the X factor right now. You got to give credit to Grant Williams, the way that he was able to take the physical punishment that Giannis tried to administer in the paint.
Going into an away game 3, Celtics fans are more confident than ever.
It's Boston in 5, and I would be shocked if it's anything else.
The series heads to game 3 in Milwaukee on Saturday with a 3:30 tip-off. For SU News, I'm J.D. Conti.
As a soon-to-be graduating senior myself, I'm worried about the job market, especially because I am in the market for a job. Reporter Isabella Martinez alongside Jacob Murphy got the story. We have Isabella live here in our studio. Isabella?
New and soon-to-be college graduates have faced uncertainty in the job market due to the pandemic. Yet, reports this year have shown a sudden shift.
In just about a month, college seniors will be walking down the aisle into the real world. This year, with a more promising job market. Dave Mary from the Career Development Center at Suffolk University tells students the projections.
We look for the Job Outlook Report from NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, each year to see what the predictions are, and it's typically pretty spot on. For the past 2 years, it's been very depressing to read. This year, it's really encouraging. So they're seeing that employers are looking to hire 27% more students from the graduating class of 2022 than they did from 2021.
The hope may be high, but the search remains difficult.
But I've applied to like 6 or 7 solid jobs that I could see myself working in the future, and most of them I haven't even heard anything back from, not even like a denial. So
I don't have that much time to apply. I think last summer I applied to like 100 jobs and internships, and right now I'm at 12.
A couple dozen, if I'm being honest. And like some of them have been reaching back to me, and some of them have been saying like, oh, like it's just not the right fit, or I just haven't been hearing.
Employers are now moving towards skill-based hiring, looking beyond a student's major and GPA.
The big one is technology, not just necessarily knowing particular technological programs or software systems, but the ability to learn them and adapt them to your practice.
Hard work is definitely still required, but staying open-minded and hopeful is crucial as opportunities are widely available.
So I encourage students to still do their homework before the interview, even though it's a great job market, but to be really optimistic about their chances.
The Career Development Center advises students to set up a one-on-one appointment with their advisor. Here, you can tailor your resume, check out job postings, expand your network, and review the interview process. Students, you got this. Good luck out there. Now, back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Isabella. Suffolk University's club sports team hosted a field day last week. Reporter Alex Svensson was there to cover all the fun.
Suffolk University has long overlooked club sports, until recently. Last week, I visited the first annual Rammies Field Day, where Suffolk University club sports can showcase their skills, their teams, and recruit new members.
I'm here, Counter Trio from flag football team, joined the field day, and yeah.
Last Friday marked the first annual Rammies Field Day, which is an event hosted by Suffolk University Club Sports in order to promote each club, recruit new members, and have fun playing some sports.
We're at Rammies Field Day, and Rammies Field Day was kind of a idea among all the club sports here on campus to kind of get everyone together, get people playing. We had some soccer earlier. We have volleyball going on right now, as you can see. We also had things like Can Jam. We also had the hockey club come out as well.
The club members helped set up mini volleyball, soccer, flag football, and street hockey games, and they invited all members of the Suffolk University community to attend to learn more about the club sports on campus.
It's really hard for club sports at Suffolk to sometimes get recognition from either the school athletics or just people in general, because it's hard to sometimes spread the word. So we hoped that this event would be a great way to kind of network, get people to join, get people interested, and yeah, have fun.
For SU News, I'm Alex Svensson.
Bye.
That's all this week from SU News. I'm Murat Mechen.
And I'm Kayla Dalton. Thank you for staying with us. This was actually our last newscast of the semester, and we want to give an extra special thank you to everybody at Studio 73 for helping us all semester long.
Have a great weekend.